Guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, I'm going to go over an article titled COVID Ended Our Marriage, The Couples Who Split in the Pandemic. And guys, this whole article is about how basically ever since COVID happened and the whole world in varying degrees, depending on where you live, have been on a lockdown, divorce filings and all that have been going through the roof. Now, I first did an article about this back in the spring when, the world had been impacted by COVID for only a few months. And even then, divorce filings have been going through the roof. But now we're getting close to almost a year since all this shit went down. And to no surprise, the divorce filings are still going through the roof. A lot of people have been going to counseling either individually or as couples because of all the problems. And you can certainly understand how, in this country, at least here in the United States, in the West, the divorce rate before COVID was like 60%, give or two some degrees here, but basically 60%. And then you got the rest of the people that are in the marriages, and these are people that obviously have been married for a little while, usually with kids, are somewhere between simply just being like roommates together and kind of bored to outright, on the other end of the spectrum, outright hating each other's guts. And both parties usually stay in it for the kids, or they don't want to be alone, or financially they can't be on their own, something like that. But then you have them stuck together for an extended period of time where they generally don't leave the house to go to their jobs. They don't get to blow off some steam by going to the gym or out with their friends or to the bar. And as you can imagine, just people are losing their damn minds. For those of you guys watching me now that are married, I'm sure you can relate. But anyhow, this article goes into all this about it's continuing on and how it is all the way around the world. So, getting into it, starts off around the world, from South America to West Africa. Previously happy couples are splitting up and many are divorcing. The stress of the pandemic has been blamed by some, while others say it's highlighted old problems. I don't know if I buy into this previously happy couples, because a lot of people that were actually happy could probably kind of resolve things. I'd say more like couples that already were right on the line that it wasn't really good anyway. One person's quote is, "I found out during the lockdown that my husband has a girlfriend." Rennie whispers down the phone from her home in Nigeria. Her family are chatting loudly in the next room, plates clinking as they prepare dinner. "I confronted him about her," she says, "and all he said was, 'How did you get into my phone?' It was a big blow-up. I think he wants a divorce. He doesn't know why I'm speaking to you now. That's why I can't show my real face." Cooped up together in homes all around the world, many of us having felt the strain of our relationships. Juggling childcare, chores, and work, worrying about health, finances, and the state of the world. The global COVID-19 crisis has left many of us also navigating a domestic crisis of our own behind closed doors. I actually don't know anybody that split up during this, but you know what? It could be in the making. But I definitely know guys I am friends with that definitely their wives are driving them crazy from different periods of time. Absolutely, and especially when you bring kids into the mix. For some like Rennie, the close confinement of a lockdown has also meant discovering secrets and having to deal with the fallout. The number of couples seeking relationship counseling has surged during the lockdown. Usually most of my clients are individuals, says Dr. Rebecca Penderbaum, president of the International Association of Marriage and Family Counselors. Since the start of the lockdown, there's been a noticeable shift. The majority of inquiries have been from couples. See? People are losing their damn minds, and so as a last resort before they eventually part ways, they're going to the couples therapy. And generally that doesn't work out. Usually they tend to, when people are thinking about splitting up, they usually, the couples therapist, obviously, because it's their line of work, try to keep them together. And a lot of times they side with the women. Dr. Marnie Feuerman, a psychotherapist in Florida, says after an initial dip in the first few weeks of the lockdown, she too saw a flood of requests from couples. Notice she said a flood. People are losing their damn minds. The biggest thing I hear is about couples arguing about the new division of labor in the house. People trying to work and also take care of the children. Everything has been thrown into chaos. This was true for Richard Cunha Schmidt, 41, and Rafaela Carolina. She's from Brazil, has lots of last names, so I'm not going to go through it all. Who's 31, who lives in Florianópolis in southern Brazil. They divorced last month, saying lockdown was the catalyst. For the most part, it was 12 beautiful years together, says social worker Rafaela. But the pandemic spared nothing. It came to expose that in the 24-hour relationship with 2 children and 1 home office, a lot of things were not matching anymore. You just imagine being stuck in a house, not only your husband or wife, but also the kids, and having to deal with your own work, and having to deal with making sure the kids do their virtual assignments and all that, and the kids fighting and all the drama. That could definitely make things chaotic, and you lose your damn mind. And you can't leave to go vent. Go out and have drinks with your friends, go to the gym, like I said. I mean, again, it can make people that have a good situation lose their damn minds. And also people really reevaluate their lives whether they really want to do it or not. She says there were moments of anger and disagreement of using the situation against each other. I felt that, she adds. The issues of wearing masks, coming back to the house, taking clothes off, and taking a shower, I took it all very seriously. His view was different. I think it's funny now, but we really were furious at the time. We started to fight about things, futile, unimportant things. Adds project manager Richard. Lockdown was very strict. We couldn't leave the house, not even to get some air. And I think at first I didn't accept all this rigor. Guys, depending on where you're watching this, it's different all around the world. Like, for instance, here in the United States, the United States has 50 different states, okay? And believe me, 50 different states that aren't always going to agree with each other. So in some states, it's much more laid back in terms of how the policies with regards to COVID, the lockdown are. And other ones, ultra strict, and people aren't leaving their houses and all that. Every state in the country has been handling things differently than others, sometimes cities and all that. And of course, around the world, it just depends on where you are. But nevertheless, people's lives have been disrupted, and it's really just have impacted things just so bad. And it's December 15th today, I believe, and I'm hoping like hell that serious changes to this bullshit will be done in the next 4 to 6 months. And I'm stretching that at the most. I mean, preferably sooner than that. But by next summer, if things haven't drastically improved, it's going to be crazy. Absolutely. It continues. A survey by the UK charity Relate in April found that nearly a quarter of people felt lockdown had placed additional pressure on their relationship. A similar proportion had found their partner more irritating, with women reporting so more than men. Women reporting more that their guy was driving them crazy. Trust me, the guy was being driven crazy too, but he's not actually going to go report that or complain as much, because guys just don't do that. We'll just keep that shit inside. Lockdown created a make-or-break environment, the charity says, with people having relationship realizations, both good and bad. A further survey by the charity in July found 8% of people said the lockdown had made them realize they need to end their relationship. But 43% said lockdown had brought them closer. I'm kind of surprised a number that high. I mean, I can obviously see some people that had a good situation going on ahead of time, and I wonder if that 43% were couples that were younger, they were together, they recently married, it wasn't too long, and they don't have kids. But being together a while and having kids and the extra responsibility and all that shit could definitely make it worse. Dr. Fuhrman says in many cases, lockdown magnified the existing dynamic in a relationship. She has been counseling couples over Zoom, sometimes from their garden shed or a parked car, to gain some privacy from the family home. The pandemic has caused stress for everybody. There's a collective trauma, she says, but couples that were strong beforehand are even stronger. They already knew how to use the relationship as a resource at a time of stress. The couples who have been the worst affected are those where there were problems before this started. Exactly. And probably those couples have been together a while, so there were already things brewing below the surface. And this just did it. For Rennie, lockdown lifted the veil on the truth about her marriage. She said she would normally have been too busy to notice her husband's cold and unusual behavior, which led her to check his phone. But despite the discovery of his infidelity, divorce is simply not an option. I would call my parents and cry, but my parents are Christians. They don't believe in divorce or separation. They told me to stay there no matter what your husband does. Well, that's real loving and supportive. Why doesn't she do what she wants to do? And this is the problem with different organized religions. Everybody's allowed to, I respect everybody to have their own faith, and if it makes them happy in life, great. But if that faith or the faith of your parents is causing you a lot of problems and hurt and pain in life, it's time to seriously start questioning that, and also doing something for yourself rather than to please the family and please the parents. And I get, depending on where you live in the world and in your culture, it's a different ballgame, but I'm just talking about here in the West. That's just my opinion. People can agree with me or disagree with me, but that's just the way I see things after being on this planet nearly 43 years. Do I love him? I'm not sure anymore. I'm just hoping he doesn't speak to her anymore. Yeah, good luck. But I'm glad I found out. It gave me peace of mind that his harsh behavior was not my fault. Anecdotally, divorce lawyers in the UK and the US have reported the inquiries are up significantly. One Washington, D.C. firm reported a 70% increase in calls in October compared to October 2019. 70%. That's huge. Holy crap. And by the way, now that it's December, and definitely as the COVID numbers are going higher, or as they're being reported as going higher, more and more countries and part of this country have been going back on lockdown in varying degrees. So round one, many couples were to hold it together, but round two for several months during winter, when it's typically flu season and people get sick more often, that could take things to a whole new level. So this law firm that's reporting a 70% increase year over year, next year it could be 170% increase. You just don't know. It says here, now it gives lockdown relationship tips. Kate Moyle, psychotherapist at the UK Council for Psychotherapy, says, in lockdown, our partner's habits that normally irritate us a bit can become much more obvious. The Gottman Institute recommends trying to move away from criticizing or blaming your partner by using I statements in your communication, such as, I'm feeling, my feelings are, rather than you do this and you make me feel. That's a good idea. I'll give them that. Many couples are reporting spending all their time together, but very little time that is quality time. It is important to consciously make time to be together as a couple, but also make sure you spend time apart as individuals, even in the same house. Well, that's the problem. If people can't get out, then obviously they're going to start losing their minds. If you live in a very big house, you definitely have time that, the guy goes off of one part of the house, maybe down to the man cave in the basement to watch some shows or talk to his buddies and chill, and the wife can go on her part of the house. But even if it's a big house, you're still stuck in the same house. You don't have that space. This is a really difficult time to be going through a breakup. If you are, it's important to reach out to family and friends for support, and also to practice self-care by doing the things that make you happy and feel good about yourself. Definitely important. Early figures in Saudi Arabia, Indonesia, and China, Chinese cities of Xi'an and Daozhou. I can't pronounce this to save my life, so if you guys are reading along, you can obviously figure out what cities they're talking about here. Also suggest a rise in official divorce applications. However, University of Virginia sociology professor Brad Wilcox warns against jumping to conclusions about a universal spike. Data that we have from four out of 5 states reporting divorce in real time, Arizona, Florida, Missouri, Rhode Island, and Oregon, indicate that divorce has fallen, he says. No doubt some of this decline can be attributed to the fact that some couples had difficulty getting divorces amidst the lockdowns. Yeah, that could be definitely one part of it. They simply just can't because the law firms that file this are up to their eyeballs in work. The courts are behind. And also you got to take into effect that, let's just say you have a couple that's married and they're driving each other crazy and then that's it, it's over with. Well, they might be able to afford to split up because let's just say one or both of them lost their jobs and they're just scraping by trying to survive. But at least they're together surviving under the same roof, splitting the bills. So that could be another factor. But when things improve or there's more certainty with their jobs or financial situation, that could be it. So you got to take that into account. But based on the trends seen in previous times of turmoil, like the global recession 10 years ago, Professor Wilcox anticipates that many people will be hesitant about making permanent life changes while other aspects of their lives are unstable. Exactly, that's what I meant. If you don't think you're going to have your job next month and have a hard time paying the bills, or if you don't have it at all, you may not be so quick to run out the door because if you can't pay your bills, even if the other one is making you insane. My perspective is that we'll see a decline in divorce this year in 2020 and probably a slight uptick in divorce in 2021 and things return to more normalcy. For those who have split, the pandemic presents a further challenge. How to Survive Heartbreak in a Lockdown. In Melbourne, Australia, musician Kieran Byatt sits in the room he shared until recently with his girlfriend of 9 years. Confined to the house as winter drew in, and without the distractions of normal life, he says they stumbled into a routine funk. It just went down really fast. I think lockdown fast-tracked the expiration date. We went from talking about buying a house together at the start of the year to she was gone, and I just felt so alone. Kieran threw himself into a strict routine of work and exercise, but the pain of the separation, on top of Melbourne's strict 112-day lockdown, took a mental toll. 112 days. Good Lord, that's almost 4 months. Like I said, guys, all over the world, they've been countries, and in my country here, states, everybody's handling it differently. Some more extreme, some much more relaxed. When the breakup happened, Melbourne was opening back up again. And then we got the word we were going to go back into the lockdown. So it was just like all these incremental steps of like how much worse could it get. I got to a point where I got really down and just cried my eyes out. In Brazil, Richard and Rafaela have managed to navigate the end of their marriage amicably and remain friends. Rafaela has moved to a place nearby. They still see each other every day, sharing the care of their 2 girls. Well, that's nice to hear that they can resolve things amicably and they're not at each other's throats. I mean, that's nice. It's rare, but that's nice. Lockdown made us face the problems with courage and resignation and not run away, says Richard, and Rafaela nods. Separating wasn't what I wanted, she adds, but I didn't see any other alternative. I think we are 2 very nice people. I think we both deserve to be happy. Exactly. Life is short. And you know what? Probably they weren't very happy anyway. And they mentioned they already had 2 kids, so they're stuck in the house and they're having to handle the kids. And you know, having a bunch of kids stuck in a lockdown and losing their minds, I mean, that adds to stress through the roof. Kieran, too, says he's weathering the present with hope of a brighter future. Each day is getting better, but then you still have these days that are awful. And you know what? It's very similar to this whole COVID-19 situation, he says. There are days where the case numbers are coming down, and then one day they're all back up again. And you got to maintain the hope that things will be okay. Well, guess what? Things will be okay, because this bullshit will be over sooner or later, and then it depends on the people and the governments in terms of relinquishing control, because, well, we all know darn well that once a government starts to get control, they don't like giving up so easily. And that's going to come down to the people for demanding this bullshit is over. You know, enough is enough. Again, that's if the situation is improving and so forth. But everybody's different. Every country is different. Every province in the country is different. Every state in the country is different. And it all boils down to culture. But bottom line of this article is, putting the politics aside, because that gets people all riled up, is thanks to fucking COVID, it's a mess out there, and it's been causing lots of problems with couples and marriages and relationships, already on top of all the problems in marriages and relationships that are already out there anyway. Because like I said before, divorce rate, at least in the West, was 60%. And the amount of people getting married has become less and less, or they're taking their time later in life, or the divorce rate has been skyrocketing, you know? And again, and that's just the people that actually had the guts to go through the divorce. They're not talking about the people that already are married and just are staying in it for the kids or financially, whatever reason, you know. This shit just amplified it. So it's very interesting. But all right, guys, that is it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. Thought you'd like to hear the report, how things have been going in the world. And be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. And I'll catch you next time.